G'day guys, just a quick live. Just Saturday afternoon here at the moment. Got the show in town, so we're off to the show this afternoon. But I just thought I'd get this big fella up on the easel for a quick look as to what I'm doing here. I'm just changing the background around a little bit. So as I've said in some of my tutorials, when you need to change the background, I usually like to paint the whole background in first and then paint my subject over it. That way it pulls the subject forward. But because I'm changing this, there's a little fix that you have to do. So what I'm doing now is I've mixed up a little bit of a mix. I'm just kind of making the back a little bit of an abstract. And so what you have to do is kind of just paint over, because I've already done all this work in here, I just have to paint over the edges of my subject. And then I will, it's a bit of a pain, but I will have to come back and paint all that back in later on. So that will, again, push that main subject out. So all this section I've pretty much finished. And this is the ugly stage down here, which is just the blocking stage. And yeah, so I just thought I'd show you that little nugget. And I'm just playing around with the background as we speak. So I'm just trying to get some interest happening in here. Just doesn't want to play the game. Oh, that's better. And if you feel like you've made a mark that you're not really happy with, you can always find some clean, get your brush, get some really clean water, and because that background is already dry underneath, if I want to just break that line up there, which I think might, I probably shouldn't be worried about it, but I'm just going to show you for the sake of it. I can actually just use that clean water and just pretty much rub that out. And once that dries, that'll just go back to the original colour that the background was. But I'm not minding that. I'm not really happy with that little bit of blue there. Managed to get a bit of cayenne in there. Cayenne, there we go. Cyan, sorry. Got absolutely roasted in the comments. Once I was calling it, where is it? Here it is. A little bit of cayenne there. A little bit of cayenne. Apparently it's deep cyan. But anyway, yeah, just playing around the background at the moment, so I'm just going to keep going with that for a minute. So I'm kind of bringing it lighter in the section, and as you know, I like to darken my edges, and that kind of makes the eye push right into the subject anyway, even though the subject is pretty straightforward. In this case, it's just the face. But when you've got too much going on in a painting, sometimes the brain just can't really settle on where it's meant to be, where it's not meant to be, and your brain starts to think, well, where am I supposed to be looking here? And it becomes not a comfortable experience. So for me, in a portrait or even when I'm doing something else, I just like to darken those edges. Really just pushes the eye into that subject. All right, I'm just going to lighten this off a little bit in here, like I said, and again, painting over the subject, which is, like I said, a pain, but it has to be done because I am changing this background a little bit. I wasn't really happy with what I had, so I'm kind of making it a little streaky, a little abstract. And I'll just show you another little trick too. Just when it does get a little thick too over the edge of your subject, again, just a matter of cleaning that brush down. I have two on. I've got my dirty water kind of thing that I'm pretty much predominantly clean my brush with, and then I've got my next little tub there that's got all my clean water in it. So that way I always have two on the go. This is an acrylic. And I'm challenging myself with this particular painting because I want to see if I can actually do a realism piece in acrylics. So I've gone the other way. Most people go from oils to acrylics. From acrylics to oils. Me, I'm going the other way because I fell in love with the acrylics. I fell in love. At first, it was really hard, and now I'm kind of to the point where just so easy to clean. They're not toxic. I haven't got linseed oil and terps and all those smells going throughout the house. If you're like me and got a studio that's attached to the house, you don't really need all those smells floating through. And when I did start to pick up my painting again back in my early 40s, I started painting, and lo and behold, the whole house was stuck out with terps, linseed oil, and all my oil paints. So what happened after that is, believe it or not, my wife just tells me she's pregnant. So I had to pack up all the oils and all the paints, and I still wanted to keep painting. So I switched over to acrylics. No smell, easy water clean up, just really easy to do. So yeah, it's just one of those things. Went the other way, but I'm loving it. At first I hated acrylics. I really hated them because they don't blend like an oil does on the canvas. The color you mix in oil is pretty much the color that goes on the canvas, whereas if you're into acrylics at all, when you start to put when you start to mix your acrylics, what happens is that when you let it dry on the canvas, it'll just change color. But that's where the layering comes in. You start to do your layering, and yeah, you become, I guess, it's a different beast as opposed to oils. But again, no smell, easy to clean up. I fall in love with them. And this is a kind of a challenge for myself. As I've said, I've put all the work in around the forehead there, and I'm just going to bring, because I'm right-handed, I will just work from the top up here, and I will work down into the block in stage. I've just got some messages there. Wow, great job. Thanks for that, Coles. Stitch, are you an Aussie? No, mate, not an Aussie. Yeah, I'm Australian. Yeah, mate, I'm an Aussie. Crafty, are you Aussie? Yeah, I'm Aussie. Looks nothing like The Rock. Nah, thanks for that, funny guy. You are absolutely correct. Hopefully by the end of it, mate, we do get there. But at the moment, nah, she's not really looking like The Rock. Looks great. Thanks for that. Keep on going. Looking all right. Yeah, so it's just one of those things. Hopefully by the end of it. But another thing I did want to bring up too, by the way, is like I was saying, once you've pushed your fresh paint over old paint that's already set and dried, here's that little technique that I was telling you about. You don't really want to just go back to the drawing board and mix up all those colours that you've already mixed. So here I've got raw umber, I've got Mars black, I've got burnt sienna, probably raw sienna actually. So I've cleaned that brush off, and then I've got my new fresh water over here. So I've got the new fresh water. And now what I'm going to do is, because that's fresh paint over that background, the new background that I'm painting in, I don't know if you're going to be close enough to see, but it's almost like an eraser. I can just push that fresh paint to the outer edge and just clean that off, which makes it a lot easier later on when it comes time to touch up all that outer part of his head there. So yeah, and that's just fresh water, just pushing that back. And again, over here, it's probably too far away to see, but I can do exactly the same. If it starts to get a little too thick, because I really like that painterly look, I'm not hating the fact that a little bit of paint has gone over the edge of his skull. Or is that the right word, skull? And again, with that fresh water, I'll just push that back now. Because, like I said, that paint is already dry underneath, I started pushing that, already painted this part of the subject in. And as I said, just for sake of repeating myself, if you can still hear me, I like to paint the background first, then I paint my subject. It pushes the subject out from the background. Anyway, I can play around with that later. About 27 degrees today. We're in spring, starting to get really beautiful weather. Probably shouldn't be inside painting, but we're off to the show today, so I don't know what you call that in other parts of the world, the fair or something. But yeah, so I'm just going to grab a bit of that paint there just to sort of give it that abstract background that I'm looking for, I'm just going to start to just try to get that nice crinkly look through there, just up and down. Now that's grabbed too much there, and I don't want really that. It's going to, if you're trying to be subtle, when you've got really stark movements in your background, again, it takes it away from the subject. So I'll just break that up a little bit, as that didn't work, but there's a workaround again. As like I said before, clean your brush, back to your other really clean water, and then I'll just, like I said before, because that paint underneath is fairly dry, I can actually almost rub that out, and I might just rub one area a little bit more than the other, so that way it kind of gives it that streaky look, which is what I'm sort of going for anyway. Let's just see if I can just really liking this dappled look, which when you're doing by the way, when you're doing a landscape, so easy for your when you're doing a mountain or anything like that, you just get your trusty old palette knife, but in this case it's just a plastic spatula that I got for about a blister pack for about $2 from one of the cheap shops. But when you've got your mountain, you just load up your little spatula and you just run that down, and you get that dappled look, which really gives you all those nice shadows and lines that you're kind of looking for naturally. It's just one of those random things that you're not really trying, so it looks more natural. If you're trying to really control it, this is a controlled painting, but I really like the free stuff as well, because there's no real hard lines, or it's pretty much just let the painting dictate the terms to you, if you can understand me. And sometimes you'll sit there and spend a lot of time on a background, and you'll think, in the end, the real benefit of a background is obviously push that subject forward. But when you don't notice that background, but it really just complements the subject, then you know you've done a fairly good job. I'm liking that. You want to give that real painterly look. You don't want to be too controlled, like I said. That's why I'm enjoying just getting some of these marks looking good on there. Always have your little cheap box of tissues. Don't get one of those ones that are scented, because they do leave a little oily film on your utensils. But yeah, just little cheap pack, really good to have handy when you want to clean your stuff, your gear down really quickly. Oh dear, what else do I have to do here? Clean that down again now. So that one's a little too high. So again, and because it's an abstracty sort of background, like I said before, you don't really have to worry about having it absolutely. Drips and all those sorts of things really do help. Just push that off a bit. Push that back. Like I said, because I'm right-handed, I like to work from the top of the screen down to the right-hand side. I'll work right down through here. It's a matter of blocking it all in. What have we got here? So yeah, guys. See if I can. How do I block dudes? Yeah, she's going well. Thanks, Phyllis. Yeah, cheers for that. Yeah, I'm not really used to all this stuff. The old funny guy thinks he's pretty good in there. Good on you, funny guy. You keep it up, son. Now, what else? Have we got anyone? Yeah. G'day, Crafty. Thanks for that, Crafty. Cheers for that. He's terrible at painting. Yeah, you know, good on you, funny guy. You are the funny guy, mate. You just got missing one element, funniness. So yeah, cheers. Thanks for that, Crafty. But yeah, I've got to learn how to block people. But I'm not. I just want to do a bit of painting and possibly help someone out. You never know. But like I said, pushing the subject forward, all those sorts of things. This will be a tutorial eventually. But to be honest, the problem with when you're doing this realism, a lot of people don't like it because they feel a little overwhelmed. And I've been painting for years and years and years. So, like I said, this is an experiment for me to see if I can go from and like get a realism look with acrylics. Whereas it's like a lot easier with oils. But having said that, we'll be up and running once I get it on my channel. But I kind of like to do the easier stuff because I'm more about getting people back into painting. Hopefully, you've been working all your life. You've always had a bit of a talent in the background, and you've always wanted to be able to go and explore that. But then work and life and everything else gets in the way. So yeah, I'm sort of, I guess, trying to get people to be able to fit a little bit of their own talent, like you were when you're a kid at kindy. Everybody liked breaking out the paints and everyone was excited about it, and then you get on with life and all that sort of stuff gets pushed to the background and then just totally forgotten about. Whereas hopefully one day we can hopefully someone like me and other people can reignite that passion and you can get going into it again. But anyway, so guys, I might pack it up there because we've got to go out, but I just hope that was a little bit useful in some way. And I really do appreciate you guys popping in for a minute there. And I'll catch you in the next one.